everyone and welcome back to my channel. The weather is finally beautiful. The warm days and sunshine make you want to be creative, and I am feeling a rush of inspiration too. In today's video, I am going to take a look at another set of acrylic markers. These are from Arrtx. This time it will be the Arrtx 72 Colors Acrylic Paint Markers. I don't think anyone is surprised by this collaboration anymore, so thank you so much to Arrtx for inviting me to work with them again and trusting me. This is our 6th project together. I really enjoy being able to frequently test their products and share my thoughts with you. They have always approached the collaboration with professionalism and kindness, so I am glad it continues to grow. I didn't have to look far for inspiration for today's drawing, it just came to me. My boyfriend recently played a game that caused a lot of excitement, Clair Obscur Expedition 33. To be honest, at first I just glanced over his shoulder, but I quickly became immersed in the story. The game has an amazing atmosphere and is visually stunning. I started to accompany him more and more and enjoy the game with him. That's when the suggestion was made, how about drawing some fan art? I didn't have to think long. I knew right away that I would choose Maelle, the game's main character. As usual, I started with a digital sketch on my iPad, which makes it easier for me to control the anatomy and proportions of the character. The whole sketching process is also more enjoyable and quicker. I then transferred the sketch to a sketchbook using tracing paper. I normally use a light pad, but this time I had another drawing underneath the tracing paper, which made it difficult to work with as it could pierce the light. What's more, I chose the side where you can see the previous drawing's ink marks. But you know what? I thought it was the perfect opportunity to demonstrate the main advantage of acrylic markers, their great coverage. I will talk about that a little later. Finally, I corrected the sketch with a thin pen because the redrawn lines were barely visible through the punctures from the previous drawing. Even before we get to the markers themselves, I have to mention the packaging, which is really impressive. As always with Arrtx products, the design is very aesthetically pleasing and well designed. Arrtx never disappoints when it comes to making a good first impression. Their packaging makes you feel like you are getting something special right away. Well, instead of the usual cardboard box, we've got this elegant and practical box that will get you thinking about creating. As soon as you open the set, the first thing that catches your eye is the color swatch card. I love it when brands include something like this in their products. It makes things much easier, especially when there are a lot of shades to choose from. You can test all the colors right away, see how they look on paper, and have a preview ready to use when drawing. Now here is something that really made me happy. There are also removable tips inside. There are 3 different types, 2 round ones in 2 sizes, and my absolute favorite, the brush nib. The ability to change the nibs is a huge plus for this set, setting it apart from others. For someone like me who draws a lot, it's priceless, because nibs wear out over time, and with removable parts, you don't have to throw away the whole marker straight away. And then there's the brush nib. This gives you much more control over your lines, allowing for delicate gradients and free-flowing movements. Perfect for character illustrations, hair, and more dynamic shapes. I am a huge fan of brush nibs, and I am glad that Arrtx has made sure that this set offers choice and flexibility. I also noticed one change to previous Arrtx sets. This time there are no separate stickers for color marking the markers. But don't worry, now the markers are printed directly on the marker bodies, so they are ready to use as soon as you take them out of the box. Importantly, the swatch card already has all the color numbers and names printed on it, so you just need to paint over them with the correct marker. This speeds up the swatch preparation process, allowing you to start drawing quickly. Before you start drawing, you need to prepare the markers, but this is really easy. First, shake them well to mix the ink. You will hear the ball inside rolling around. Then remove the cap and gently press the nib against the card vertically. After a few seconds, the ink will start to flow and the tip will turn color, which means the marker is ready to use. And that's it! You can now start creating. I chose the colors I would use to color the characters, and it was in these markers that I decided to replace the tips with brush tips straight away. Let me tell you, swapping is really easy. Just grab the tip and pull it upwards. I did this with the help of a tissue so that I wouldn't get any ink on my hands, as a little remains on the nib. I used to put the used nib straight into a cup of water, which was an effective way of eliminating any remaining ink. Of course, you know that some ink will remain and the nibs may be slightly stained, but this is perfectly normal and nothing to worry about. Then simply press the new tip into the marker, and that's done. As before, activate the marker by pressing it into the paper until the ink starts to flow. When using brush tips, it's best to be gentle. I use the cap to support the marker while activating it to avoid pressing the tip directly onto the paper and damaging it. And that's it! It's quick, clean, and stress-free. It's worth taking a closer look at the markers themselves because this set has a lot to offer. With up to 72 vibrant, saturated colors, you have a huge range of possibilities for creating illustrations, fan art, decorative objects, and crafts. What's more, this set contains 42 new colors not found in the previous 48 color set. However, it also retains the 30 most popular shades from that previous version, so if you are already familiar with the older set, you will feel right at home here. At the same time, though, you will discover plenty of new colors. Another huge advantage is that the set includes two new types of tip. The brand has expanded its range to include 8 hazelnut tips, which are more rounded and softer, and up to 26 brush tips. These allow you to achieve smooth transitions and precise line of different thicknesses. This is ideal if, like me, you like to have more control over your lines and build up shading or detail with precision. For better color blending or softer gradients, I often use a damp brush. I use it in a similar way to when painting with gouache because, although they have a different texture, acrylic markers also respond well to a little water, especially before the ink is completely dry. Using a damp brush allows me to lightly blend the pigment, soften the edges of colors, and achieve a softer, more artistic effect. This makes it easier for me to build up shading or subtle lighting, especially on larger surfaces or when painting elements such as skin or backgrounds. It's a very enjoyable working method, combining the convenience of markers with the lightness typical of classic painting. While it's not a necessary step, the markers themselves are highly opaque. Adding water and a brush gives me more control over the drawing's finish and allows me to achieve a more varied texture. Importantly, markers are highly versatile. Not only can they be used on paper, but also on canvas, wood, metal and plastic. In each case, they provide strong, even coverage that sticks well and doesn't smudge. This is especially useful if you are creating decorations, customizing items, or simply want your work to have a long-lasting effect. It's also worth mentioning that the ink in the markers dries quickly and is waterproof. There is no need to wait for things to dry, and there is no risk of smudging if you touch them accidentally. The colors, although water-based, are intense, clear and long-lasting. They make a great impression on both white paper and darker surfaces. Finally, here's something very important. The markers are non-toxic, odorless and safe. I think this is a huge advantage, especially if you are sharing materials with other people or drawing indoors. They don't contain any harmful chemicals, they don't leak, and they are safe for younger users too. They are simply a safe tool for creative work, regardless of age or skill level. Honestly, I love these markers and the Arrtx brand in general. I say this not only as someone who has tested a few of their sets, but also as someone who enjoys using them for everyday drawing. With each successive set, I have the impression that Arrtx listens to its users more and more. This can be seen, for example, in the extended range of colors, the interchangeable tips, or in the little features such as swatch cards and markers with pre-marked labels. All this makes working with these markers not only convenient, but also simply enjoyable and inspiring. I also love the build quality of their products. The ink is available in beautiful, intense colors that apply very well. The markers provide good coverage and don't leak or delaminate while you are working with them. I also really like the way they look. The packaging is thoughtful and practical, and it's just plain pretty. For me, someone who likes to surround herself with pretty things, that's really important. I also feel a huge affinity with the brand itself. This is our 6th collaboration, and I have complete confidence in everything they produce. Arrtx gives me the freedom to experiment, share my thoughts, and be part of a creative community, which I find really important. I can confidently say that if you are looking for high-quality, versatile acrylic markers for a variety of techniques and projects, this set is definitely worth considering. If you are already familiar with Arrtx products, I'm sure this set will reinforce your view of them as a good brand. By the way, have you noticed the new video editing style? Let me know if you are noticed it too, but I feel that these changes have made the videos more dynamic and enjoyable to watch. I felt that my previous videos were missing something. Supposedly, I was showing and saying everything I wanted to, but visually they could have been more interesting. So I decided to experiment a bit by adding more shots from different angles and perspectives to give you a better idea of how I work and to make the whole thing more alive. I took some close-ups and some shots from the side or above, as well as recording some parts from a completely different perspective than usual. On top of that, I created a short summary of the whole video at the beginning, as I think this grabs the viewers' attention and makes them curious. I hope these changes will be well received, because I want you to enjoy watching as well as learning from my tests. Please let me know in the comments if you like this format and would like me to edit videos this way more often. To add the finishing touches to the drawing, I went for the Himimiya gouaches, which I really like and which work well in these situations. I mainly use them to create the outlines of the characters. Gouaches have the advantage over thin pens or liners. You can choose exactly the color of the outline that suits that part of the drawing. Not everything has to be black. Colored thin pens often don't work well with gouaches. Gouache gives you a huge amount of freedom, making the outline an integral part of the work rather than just a border. The Himimiya gouaches have a nice consistency. They are soft and well pigmented, and they are easy to mix with water. This allowed me to choose the right color intensity with confidence. Using a brush to paint the outlines also enabled me to create lines that added lightness and individuality to the drawing. I really enjoy combining different techniques and testing how various media interact with each other. For example, acrylic markers combined with gouache create some really interesting and unique effects. If you haven't tried using paints to make outlines yet, I recommend giving it a try. Finally, to add a touch of sparkle and magic to the illustration, I decided to spend a little more time on the background. I reached for a homemade glitter paint that I like to use from time to time, this time with holographic flakes that catch the light nicely. It's a small obsession of mine. I love it when the work has a subtle shimmer and something special about it. I mix the pigments with a transparent medium to create the paint myself, and the holographic flakes add to the effect of depth and shimmer, which is especially noticeable when you view the drawing from different angles. I only added it in a few places in the background so as not to overwhelm the character, but rather to emphasize the atmosphere and create a subtle, magical mood. I think this small addition brings the whole thing together and makes the drawing even more eye-catching. I love these finishing touches. They give the illustration a unique character. I hope you enjoyed this video, but wait, what is that? Can you see that? Let's go back to one Sunday in June. On that day, my boyfriend and I went on a picnic. We took food, books, and a camera and just let ourselves relax. It was one of those rare moments when we both had time off, which doesn't happen often when you work in a hotel and have completely different schedules. We wanted to enjoy each other's company and the peace and quiet. We read, took photos, talked, and enjoyed the simple, but much needed, silence together. When we got home in the evening, we had one more plan waiting for us: to assemble 2 Lego sets based on our favorite animated film, Lilo and Stitch. So yes, I have a fiancé. That's all for today's video. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to my channel. See you soon, bye!